Welcome back to Be a Boy podcast with myself, Elliott, Ray, and
me, Joeli, Brearley.
And we've been playing in the Premier League, the Champions League recently. We've had some heavyweight guests, Richard Reeves and John Amici, two heavyweights, incredible conversations. But today we have our favorite guest, producer Kaley in the building. And these are the episodes where we get to chew the fat and Kaley asks us some questions. Kaley, what you got for us this week?
Yeah, my first question is based on knowing how busy you are, Elliott, and seeing all the posters around my local gym. It's about the ramp up to International Men's Day and Men's Mental Health Month. I would be really interested to hear how it's feeling this year, what's going on, if you think it's different to previous years. Just download your thoughts.
So the busiest month of my life. And it's my wife's birthday on Monday. So it's like in the middle of International Men's Month. So it's always a mad month for me. But in terms of the whole month, it's a weird one. I feel like just inclusion in general this year has been quieter. I think International Women's Day felt quieter to me. Black History Month was definitely quieter. I think in general, though, there is a lot more conversation about men and boys. Obviously, adolescence was earlier this year, but that has carried on. And I think it has put these issues front of mind. I'm interested to see what organizations do, because I think in previous years, there has been lots of internal activity. I'm interested to see if they do the external activity as well. So that's to wait and see. But I always feel like with these kind of big milestone inclusion diversity events, we shouldn't rely on corporate organizations to set the narrative and do the work. I think really and truly they are community led. And so it's for community organization, like do stuff to mark the occasion. And so I would personally love to see like more of that stuff. But I don't know. What about you, Joeli?
I remember, the old days of Twitter when you'd say, oh, it's International Women's Day, and all the men would go, when's International Men's Day? But well, it's in November. You've obviously missed it. And it wasn't marked at all International Men's Day. People would just laugh at it. And now it's taken very seriously. So I think it's real progress to see that we've come from a place where we laughed at International Men's Day to a place where we're now talking seriously about men's mental and physical health. So yeah, I'm really pleased to see all the events that are happening. I agree with you that it shouldn't just be about corporations putting some money towards a speaker coming in. You've got to use it as a moment to trigger definitive action. I think we've lost that with International Women's Day as well. It's just become a corporate celebration of the women in the organisation.
Yeah. One thing that did make me smile this International Men's Day. So I often get asked to speak about the deficit, what we're not doing right, how poor men's mental health is, physical health, toxic masculinity. I say that in quotes for our audio listeners. But I'm doing some work with the AA this year. And what I really loved about their email to me in our conversations is that they wanted to echo the general theme around International Women's Day, which is like celebrating, a lot of it from what I see anyway, celebrating women's contributions. Obviously, there's conversation about what more we need to do around International Women's Day, but I do see that kind of celebrating. This is what women have contributed to society, community work over the years. We haven't necessarily had that over the years with International Men's Day. I've never been a part, really, of celebrating men in November at all. And so they were like, look, we want to recreate that kind of vibe where we're celebrating men. And I was like, yes, 100% I want to be part of that. So we're going to really focus on how do we celebrate a lot of the men, especially the men that work in the AA and men more widely as well. And I just thought, you know what, that kind of is progress, because I don't know if 5-6 years ago we would have been allowed or it would have been encouraged to celebrate men, because the narrative was and still is about how men are oppressors and what they do wrong and they're to blame for all these things. So I thought that was really, really cool, actually. And I'm looking forward to having a slightly different slant on International Men's Day.
This one is from a listener, but also from my mum's WhatsApp group. And I think it harks back to the Ruth Whitman episode, which I still think about all the time. I love that one. She is trying to work out, she has 2 boys, trying to work out why she might be having negative feelings about that. And so we want to ask you, as a girl dad and a boy mum, where do you think feelings around gender disappointment come from if you have 2 children of the same gender? And I guess a question from me to add on is,
Do you think we put any of this on our children?
Kaley, that is a big question. Crikey. I'll go first. I'll have a go. I also felt disappointed to have two boys. I think partly it's because I was raised by women. I have a sister, and I didn't really know what to do with a boy. And also, I think naturally you want to project your life lessons onto the person that you raise. And I think it's harder to do that if you're raising a boy and you've grown up as a girl. I wanted to hand over all of my wisdom on, relationships and how to navigate the world as a girl and a woman and things that I'd learned. And, obviously my boys just, I still try and explain to them, but they're like, great, thanks, Mum. So there's definitely disappointment with that. And I think I probably continued to feel disappointed that I'd had two boys for the first 2 years of their lives, because babies are boring, in my opinion, and useless, and they just cry and they need your constant attention, and you're giving. And to give to a baby that hasn't been born the sex that you had wanted them to be born can feel extra brutal. And also boys, as Ruth explained, are often harder to look after as babies compared to girls. So friends that I had that were girls would come over and they'd be like, oh yeah, she's sleeping through fine, yeah. Oh yeah, she's just colouring over there and doing nice things, whereas mine weren't sleeping. They were waking every 45 minutes and they were probably punching each other and turning the house upside down at the same time. And you're like, oh, that's lovely for you, great, thanks. But of course, when they come into themselves and they grow into talking fun humans, there's no disappointment, because they are just little human beings that you adore and couldn't imagine your life without them. But I am not going to pretend that I didn't feel the same disappointment. I absolutely did.
I've got a solution. We just swap. You can have my youngest. I'll have your eldest, and we just swap over, right? Like, we could try it for a year. I think it could work. How would you feel about having a 2.5-year-old? Okay, she sleeps through the night. She eats anything. She's pretty boisterous, so we'll just fit in.
I love that you listen this like it's an advert for her.
Trying to sell.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to find a pose to this. Anyway, let me know. The offer is there. We could try it for like a 2-month trial period.
Like wife swap, but children swap.
Children swap. Yeah, this is a deep question for me. This is a deep question because I was scared to have a black boy first. I was really scared. And I was praying for a girl. And I think it's because I know what it's like to be a black boy in London, and I knew what they would experience even if we did our best. And so it was really kind of like, I hope we have a girl, because I knew that me and my wife could do the best job that we could do, but I know they're likely to come up against certain things. And that was my naivety, because black girls and black women come up against a lot of shit too.
Yeah.
But I personally didn't understand to the level that I understood what I know my boy would have gone through. So yeah, I was really happy to have a girl. And now having two girls, I don't really feel kind of any, I wanted a boy, or I wish I had a boy, or any feelings of, I wish it had gone differently, really. I think my girls they're quite boisterous girls, to be honest. They like physical play. They like all the things that we would associate with boys in terms of their energy and how they interact. Like they're very much like that. My eldest comes to the football with me. I've conditioned her when she was young, but she comes along to spend time with me, and she shouts in the terraces, and she enjoys that. And yeah, I don't feel like I miss anything. I guess I do think quite a lot about the future though, and learning more about what black women face in life. That does worry me in terms of like how we're going to support them both to thrive in the world. You know, when we look at statistics around childbirth and mental health and everything, a lot of black people and black women are at the bottom of that. Yeah. So it's difficult. So I do think a lot about the future and what their future is going to look like, and how do we support them.
Do you find, you see, with two boys, I panic about things like the things that boys experience that I never experienced as a girl growing up. So like, fighting and violence. And that feels like an inevitability when you bring up boys, that they're gonna come back with a bust nose and a black eye one day, and that I can't protect them from that. And I find myself spiraling and panicking about that. Whereas my partner's just like, it's gonna happen. It's part of growing up. Like, it doesn't bother him barely at all. Do you find that you have a similar thing with the girls, where you worry about the things that they will experience because they're girls more than your wife does? Because your wife is like, yeah, that happens and you get through it. And
Yeah, I think so. I worry about heartbreak. I worry about sexual assault. I worry about abusive relationships, And it's not to say that I wouldn't worry if I had a boy, but we know how prevalent these things are for women. So yeah, I worry. I think about that probably way more than I should, considering they're both young. But I think when you're doing the work that we do and you're so aware of all these things, so you're looking at statistics, you're part of trying to change that. So you're very aware of the reality. And so I think about it all the time, and it's kind of stressful. I think this is parenting, right? Like, I think parenting is really fucking hard.
I guess when I thought about this question, I thought about how social media worked out. I was having a boy quite early, and the algorithms were sending me all these memes of boy mums looking really strung out and girl mums like having their nails done and things. It's like, how much is society making me think parenting is rubbish and parenting a boy is really hard and really tiring and things? And I think, I'm just going to stop listening to social media, because I don't think it's easy either way with girls or boys. Just see if I can get them to like me by the time they're a teenager. That's my plan. By being nice to their boyfriends and their girlfriends. And
feel like that. I don't know if they'll like you, Kaley, but you just want to feel like they'll have a conversation with you.
Yeah, fine. If my kids will talk to me for longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Which probably leads on to the John Lewis advert.
Yeah, I was just trying to articulate, how do we get to the John Lewis advert? Yeah. Do you want to tell us your feelings about the John Lewis advert, guys?
Elliott, you go first. I know this advert touched you.
It touched me. It did. Yeah, it got me a little bit emotional. I'm getting very emotional in my old age. I'm crying a lot these days.
Thinking about your kids all night.
Yeah, I'm so emotional recently. A level of emotion that wasn't there before. I feel like in the last couple of months, things have been hitting me. But yeah, the advert is great. If you haven't seen it, then it's an amazing advert. Obviously, John Lewis do that advert every single year, so it's a thing. And this year, it's about a dad. And it's really interesting because it's about a dad with their teenage son, which I think was quite a nice perspective, because normally we get younger children. And the moment where the son clearly doesn't know what to say to his dad, he's looking over, and his dad opens the record and he plays the music, and it's like he flashed back from 20 years ago when he used to be a little raver, and then he sees his son on the dance floor and they hug, but they don't really say anything. And I thought, you know what, I've been the son. So there's two perspectives here. There's a dad, but there's a son. I've been the son, right? Like, I've been the son who at that point, 14 years old, let's say, didn't really talk to my dad about how I felt about him or how I felt about life. Not because he was a great dad, do you know what I mean? But we just, at that point in life, we didn't have that kind of relationship where I expressed myself, my love for him, and he did that back to me. And so I was looking at it from two perspectives of like, okay, I've been that son. Now we're great now. Like, I tell him I love him, we hug and stuff. It's different now, but I've been that little boy. But also thinking about the dad's perspective in regards to, it's the cycle. His son doesn't know what to say because he doesn't know what to say. And his dad probably didn't know what to say. And so there's the whole idea about masculinity, that we keep our emotions inside. And I saw that playing out. I saw the hug. The hug was everything. The hug was like, I don't know what to say right now. Let's hug. And that was a deep hug. So that was amazing too. And I think I just saw, like, sounds really cheesy, but at Christmas time and just when we have moments to celebrate each other and pause, like, just try to take advantage of those moments. Like, not just Christmas every day really, but it's a Christmas advert, and it did get me thinking about family and moments to connect, and how do we, over the next like couple months, like maybe put the laptops down and the phones down and actually have that face-to-face connection and time. But yeah, it's a really, really good advert. And obviously we want to talk about John Lewis as a company overall. But yeah, what did you think, Joeli? What was your response to the advert?
Well, I mean, I bawled my eyes out. I fully had a right old sob this morning watching it, because I really saw myself in the dad. Like, I was that raver. What a tune! Do, 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 do. I was like, I take you down, deep down where love is. I was that person dancing.
You're not a bad singer, Joeli. You're hitting a note.
Not sing, Elliot. Your ears are distorted. Like, that was awful.
You didn't. I agree with Elliot. You sounded all right.
I totally saw myself in the dad, and then also have a son who is about to hit the teenage years, and it is constantly on my mind that I've probably got about 2 years left before we really notice that distance, that yawning gap start and feel emotionally distant from each other. People remind me of this constantly who have teenagers that about 14, they just sort of vanish and then they come back to you a bit later. So I'm like waiting really nervously for that moment to hit. And so it really did hit me. And I had a good old cry. I think it's just so important that they're focused on the dad-son relationship and a reminder of the importance of dads and how they also care so deeply about their children. I just think we do forget that. And so I think it's glorious that John Lewis focused on that. I showed it to my partner. He watched it and said, didn't know John Lewis sold records. And I showed it to my friend who's a social worker who said, I just really want to sit them both down and make them have a conversation.
I love like people's takes. So like we can watch the same thing and see a completely different thing. I think we need to advocate for parents raving. Like I've been raving a lot recently. We need to, like, life doesn't end. Just go home early. Go home early enough to get a good night's sleep.
I went into a club 2 weeks ago. First time in a long time. I lasted 10 minutes. I couldn't hear people talk. It was like everybody's 20 years younger than me. The drinks tasted of paint stripper.
So the John Lewis advert, another thing I want to say about it is that we do a lot of inclusion work with businesses, and often I see one or the other. I see businesses doing great ad campaigns and talking a lot about whatever it is, Pride, Black History Month, International Women's Day. They do lots of external advertising, which is okay, but it doesn't match what they're doing internally. Or we see vice versa. They're doing great work internally, but they don't shout about it and they don't integrate it into their ad campaign and their employer brand. John Lewis have nailed it. For years, they have been a family-friendly employer. They're really flexible. They have an equal parental leave policy. Dads and non-birthing partners get 6 months paid paternity leave, fully paid. They have great take-up. Leadership have been incredible. I've worked with them personally. They have a great family network. And I think it's just really, really good because you're seeing a brand here that's externally talking about family and dads, but internally they're doing the work as well. Yeah. So I think it's just like celebrating that. I'm not saying John Lewis are perfect by any means. I don't know the ins and outs when it comes to all the stuff. But I think we needed to acknowledge that. Shout out to John Lewis.
Yeah. It's not performative at all. I've also worked with them and they lobby the government hard for better paternity leave. So they have every right to celebrate dads. Well done, John Lewis.
It would be great to talk about the modernisation of the national curriculum, if we can. The BBC highlighted in the news this week that children in England will be taught financial literacy and how to identify fake news. And the Telegraph reported that children as young as 5 are going to receive mandatory climate change lessons. The government's going to diversify subjects like English literature and history so children see themselves and their communities reflected in materials. And they're going to reduce GCSE exam papers. So my question to you is, what would you like to make sure is in these changes for boys?
Well, another big question, Kaley. I mean, firstly, I think that's a really good thing. My son said to me the other day that next year the book he's reading is Lord of the Flies. I was like, I did that at your age at English literature. Has the curriculum really not moved on?
And doesn't paint boys in a great light. Doesn't talk about boy relationships well.
It's a great book, but I really would have thought we'd have had time to maybe put some more modern books on the curriculum. And with, there have been many campaigns about having more women writers, having more Black writers, having more changing history lessons so that we don't just look at the Vikings and we look at all of history and all of the bad things that Britain did. We know that boys are slipping behind in education, and why that is, I don't really know. I'm not an expert, but I know that boys tend to fare better when you have exams rather than coursework. And also I feel really strongly that boys need to move more. And we strap kids in a chair and go, here's a lesson, you must learn this thing. And I feel like there needs to be more movement in education. And I have lots of friends who have a child with special educational needs who are struggling so much. And they're struggling because education is still a one size fits all. If you don't fit this box, you're outside of it, then you are going to have a terrible experience at school. And so I would hope with that modernisation comes changes that really do benefit children with special educational needs. Because I think it's 1 in 4 children are out of the education system at the moment. And the vast majority of them are kids with SEND, because the school system it's killing them mentally. And so they have no choice, parents, but to take them out of the system. And that means they're not getting an education, and it means their parents are struggling financially and mentally as a result. So I would hope that that is part of the conversation as well.
All of the above. What she said, basically. And the only thing I would add to that is like life skills. Like, teach me how to do my taxes, please. Teach me how to have a good, healthy relationship, please. Teach me how to do my laundry. Just the general life skills that we're going to need to know. I personally have never used my algebra, but there's things I do on a day-to-day basis that I really wish I learned when I was like 14 years old. It would have really helped. So yeah, just more of the life skills I would add, and everything that Joeli said.
Yeah, we're not teaching kids critical thinking at the moment, are we? But you're saying that's going to be part of the education system.
Yeah.
I think is absolutely vital.
I worry about my son in the same way that you talked about. I would love to see more play for the younger years. I think you could have really intelligent kids that are going to get in trouble because they can't sit still for that long. Maybe slipping through the cracks.
I mean, the education system can't really prepare kids for what's ahead because we don't know.
That's true.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah. And universities are, even, if you specialize in a subject, like any tech, you're not going to be getting the information, the knowledge that you need, because it's changing so fast that the people teaching you are out of date already. So the things that schools really need to do is teach you about life skills and teach you about critical thinking. I think those are the 2 most important foundations that you should be teaching every single child. And the current curriculum doesn't do either of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Modernization is imperative.
Yeah. There's a guy called Elijah who I follow. He's like kind of a DJ and a music thinker. And I was listening to him on a podcast yesterday talking about education, specifically university. And he was saying what would be really good is if the projects that are done at uni, or dissertation or whatever project you're doing, if it was actually out there in the world. So if you are doing a project at uni, like that project should exist online for everyone to see. And then you can actually test it in the real world while getting the support from your professors and your educators, but you're getting the real world feedback. And I thought, that's a no-brainer, because uni students do some really incredible work, but it's kept within the 4 walls of the university institution, and it's marked by some professor who will stick to some marking criteria, but also give their opinion on it. Whereas why not help them to get the real world experience out there? Then learning so much about real relationships, real implementation of their ideas, while also getting the support. And I thought, you know what, that would be so good. And that would solve so many problems in regards to leaving the education system, getting into the real world of work or business, and not having a clue where to start, because everything that you learn in education and the way you do things doesn't necessarily translate to what getting a project up and running in the real world looks like.
And find ways of inspiring kids as well, and showing them that they can access things that they otherwise, like I left school and set up Pregnant and Screwed, and the notion that I could influence anything in Parliament was so far removed from my experience. Living in Newcastle, it was like a different planet to Parliament, let alone, just a different city. And so I have said next year I'm going to take my son and a couple of other kids to Parliament, and we'll go and meet a couple of MPs, and I'll take them round and just but I have to take them, pretend they're sick, and take them out of school to do that. Why are the schools not encouraging more of those sorts of opportunities?
Yeah, and we spoke about this with Alex, didn't we, about opportunities? And I think that plays into class as well. My eldest thinks writing a book is normal. She's actually writing a book now, right? Like, she thinks writing a book is completely normal. She knows I've written a book. She knows so many authors. She's seen your book, Joeli, on our bookshelf, right? Like, Joeli's book. We saw it in Westfield. We went to Waterstones. Oh, look, Joeli's book here. Daddy, that's how you do a podcast with. Your book was there, right? So she thinks writing a book is normal. She thinks going to big stages, I've taken her on stage with me multiple times. She thinks that's completely normal, right? She thinks going to do an event at a football stadium behind like that. She thinks so many things are completely normal. Yo, Danny's going to number 10 in 2 weeks. Yeah, doesn't everyone do like for her? That's just so normal. And so I feel like hopefully, fingers crossed, her ambition and aspiration won't be contained or not even contained. I think some kids don't even know what is possible and they're not even introduced to the concept of what is possible in life. And so your thinking is very, very small. And it takes someone to come along and say, no, like you can do this, you can do that. These are the things that you can do. Use your skills, use your talents, start something, grind, work really, really hard. You can do amazing shit. So yeah, I would love schools to be able to incorporate that. Obviously, we know it's hard, funding, time. It's not blaming teachers whatsoever. It's the structure. And basically, the government needs to reform education to be able to provide the time and energy and resources for the schools to provide those opportunities. But I think if they do, it will have so many young children like more fit for the adult world and having better lives as a result.
Yeah, great. And I think we've got time for another question. This is based on, I wasn't looking too much at John Lewis on social media this morning because I got the dad shift stuff. They are launching a competition to find the UK's best dad joke. And given that we've got a dad on the podcast, I wondered if we could think about what our entry is going to be. The winning entry, for our listeners, he's just sort of coughing his tea up. The winning jokes are going to be read out by MPs in the House of Commons, where these two spend all their time quite normally. So do you guys, what are your best dad jokes, please?
I think the dad should go first, though.
Joeli, you're funnier than me.
I'm not funnier than you. I am not funnier than you. You studied comedy, Elliott.
I didn't study. I went on a 2-day course.
You are qualified. You're a qualified comedian.
I have no joke. Like, I am one of those people. I don't know any jokes. But what I do have is ChatGTP. So I've asked my mate Chat. We've been spending a lot of time together recently. And these are jokes that I can't claim to have written, but I did give Chat the prompt to write it for me. So I don't know if I can claim that they're my jokes or not. I don't know how AI works.
It depends how funny they are, whether you want to claim them or not. Let's see what the reaction is.
Okay, cool. I've got a few here. Why did the... These are not that funny. Why did the dad bring an extra pair of socks to the golf course?
Because he had a hole in one.
See, you are funnier than me. You are funny.
Well
Only
done.
a funny person would get that right.
I'm sure that's a cracker joke. I'm sure I've heard that one before.
All right, I've got another one. What do you call a factory that makes okay products? Hey, I feel like you're going to get this one. I feel like this is...
I'm trying, my brain is...
Think about it. It's obvious. A factory that makes okay products.
I don't know.
A satisfactory.
Oh.
All right, last one. AI is good. Why did the scarecrow win an award?
The silence is long there.
Why did the scarecrow win an award? Oh, I feel like I know this, but I can't think of the...
Okay,
Go on.
because he was outstanding in his field.
Outstanding in this field. Yes.
If anyone at home is sat cringing and they've got better jokes, then get in touch with the dad shift who are doing really great work and send them your jokes and maybe win. But also send us your listener questions because we want to do more of this. We want to hear more from you and get your questions on air, but also shape our future episodes. So get in touch.
Amazing.
Well, thanks very much.
See you, everybody.
Bye.